Very good. Okay, thank you everyone for sticking around for this. I know it's the last session of the day, so we'll get right to the meat of it as quickly as we can. A little bit about Elkay's history. We're an American-owned company, founded in 1920 by Leopold Katz and his son Louis. They began building kitchen sinks in Chicago. Since 1920, we have grown to be America's #1 stainless steel sink company, and we've expanded our product offering into water coolers, bubblers, bottle fillers, and I think we're about the 4th largest manufacturer of cabinetry in North America. If you're drinking out of a water fountain, there's probably a 90% chance we made it in our Savannah plant in Illinois. We have locations across 10 states in the U.S. and 2 locations in China and Mexico, respectively. Our vision is to become the preferred choice for every customer we serve. And one of the interesting tie-ins between our mission and our values is that we are in business forever. And being in business forever means you do the hard stuff. You take the hard right instead of the easy, or easy out. And no one in this room will argue that implementing a new ERP system isn't a hard right. If you have experience with PS, that's a hard right too. As my predecessor spoke to, it's not an easy, you don't just plug it in and go. It's not a plug and play. A lot of work involved in it. And you've got to be committed to the process, and you've got to have a compelling reason to do it. Because if you don't, as soon as you hit a wall, people are going to start just folding. They're going to abandon it. So our business opportunity for PES presented itself in really in 2012. 2012, May, we did our Oracle ERP implementation, and the intent all along the way was to bring PS along as well. And we worked on it diligently. But unfortunately, we were partnered with a consulting firm that was not able to help us after many tries. And all the while, we could see that we were not getting closer to the line, and the go-live date for Oracle was coming up. So we began to frantically work on systems outside of Oracle that would help us, and we all know what those are. They're queries and macros and pivot tables and everything in the world that Excel and Bill Gates can help us with. So we went live. We had ASCP and a bunch of homemade scheduling tools. And you can just imagine how successfully we were. We didn't quite make our customers happy initially. And on top of that, what we failed to note in my presentation is we also at the same time decided, hey, this would be a great time to cut our lead times. So what do you mean cut our lead times? Yeah, when we go live with Oracle, let's take everything from 7 days to 3. Okay? Yeah, that caused big problems. We've got an ASCP, great and powerful tool, but we really didn't know how to use it. We've got PS in a box still, because we've not figured out how to use it yet either. And we're running off macros and Excel and all kinds of, just crazy things, but things we have to do necessary to keep the business going. So, nobody felt this more than where I'm from. This is the sink plant in Lumberton, North Carolina. We think this is the largest stainless steel sink plant in the world. We definitely know it is in North America, and we are certain it is the most complex in the world. Our product offering exceeds 5,000 finished SKUs, built off at least 1,200 different bowl configurations. It is deceptively simple looking. You press a bowl, you grind a bowl, you finish a bowl, you put it in a box as a sink. We're sharing all kinds of tools and dies and machines, and we have batch processing on the front end and one piece flow on the back end, and it's really a scheduling challenge. So we were the guys who got all the phone calls from everyone. Everyone from customers to executives, you know, the guys with the C's and the V's and the P's behind their name. So those are the emails you don't want to see at 7 a.m. in the morning with exclamation marks in the subject line. So the implementation team, the ERP team, you know, knew immediately. They knew we were crippled. So we stepped back and just looked at where we were. And we knew that we had a powerful tool with ASCP, but we couldn't integrate it to our homemade tools. You know, one was not helping the other. So we knew we had to get PS running. And this is in 2012. In late 2012, November, I think, we reached out. We partnered with another consulting firm and started the process down the road of getting PS to work for us. That was the objective, get PS up and running. We knew we were also in the infancy of ASCP. We knew it was powerful, and we knew we didn't know how to use it very well yet. But we continued to struggle. So in short, we had to align our processes, people, and tools to get better. This is a long list of objectives, but again, the objective was get PS up and running. Let's get some good schedules in this factory. Let's get some things out the door. We were in an environment where, when I say queries and Excel sheets, we literally gave the supervisors what we call a bucket of work. We'll give you 3 to 5 days worth of schedule. It's sequenced in no logical order. Maybe has some dates that you got to hit on some things, but in some things maybe it's safety stock. Maybe you don't have to hit them. Do the best you can. We had production people in operations sitting in their offices for hours, resequencing a schedule, responding to these hundreds of emails, jumping through hoops. It was like a 16-ring circus out there. No ringmaster. We just had to have some relief. So we couldn't get PS going fast enough, so it wasn't difficult to get commitment and buy-in to break off, start anew, start fresh with a new consulting firm. This speaks to the chaos in the communication. Nothing like an email from a CEO to wake you up. This is where we wanted it to go. We wanted a more streamlined communication flow where planning, which was, by the way, now centralized, where before it had been not centralized. We had planners in every operation, every manufacturing plant. Now we have one planning group. I'm happy to say this is where we are now, and what a relief it is to only deal with one person and only see one hot email list every morning. And I think for him, and I have him here today, I think he can say the same thing. He's not getting 500 emails a day either. I know one day I counted 45 emails on the same subject because everybody was on fire looking for something. And if you're in manufacturing, you understand that. This is a graphic of our kind of our model of planning and scheduling after implementation of Oracle, but before PS. Everywhere you see the little red explosion, that was a hot spot for us. We were having problems with that. We either didn't know how to use it well, or we didn't have the right inputs in, or the data we had in was just complete garbage. That's why it's important to get your processes in line before you hit the switch, as in line as you can. Don't go along with the thinking of, well, we know that's broken, but we're going to do Oracle, so we'll fix it then. You're going to be in pain. This is what we were aiming for. We wanted our planner to provide the work orders to our scheduler who could sequence it. Because remember, we have a deceptively simple-looking, super complex process where we are. Bet you do too. Almost everybody does. Nobody's in here making the easy widgets. We just want the scheduler to be able to look at that capacity and fit the optimum schedule together and have PS do as much of the heavy lifting as possible. And then let's get the production people doing what we're paying them to do. Make product. Not plan, not schedule, not procure, not run around and ordering materials. Our production people have their own forklift drivers to run and get this because sometimes this and that change so quickly. Bananas. This is, again, I'm happy to say, not just the future scheduler activities. These are our current activities. So every day, our scheduler is using PS to prepare the production schedules, publishing and distributing those schedules, working with the planner on exceptions and recommended cancellations from ASCP, maintaining the calendars within PS and EBS. We have to change calendars when we have unplanned downtime or even planned downtime. We also change them relative to holidays because sometimes we work holidays. Sometimes Christmas Eve isn't a holiday. It's a double time or a triple time day. The schedulers maintaining the KPIs, keeping track of all the reasons for misses, working with the engineering group and identifying, hey, every time I run this part, we're running long. Something's wrong with your rate here. You've got to go check that. We see that in scheduling before anyone else does. Also working with the planner to expedite and change the schedule, which is like the thing we hate. Nobody likes to stop and pivot, but at least we can with the PS. It's still not pleasant, but it's doable. A little bit about our architecture. All of this from here down is within the value chain suite in Oracle. But our demand planning, right now we're using John Galt, I think, and Excel sheets. Our plans are to add to Mantra and APCC later this year. And I talked about failing the first time we tried to implement PS. This was the main reason. Your routings. It's all about your input. PS will do what you tell it to do. You just got to tell it the right thing to do. The chart on the left, this is an example of our old routings where you cut the steel, you press it, you send it to the oven, you press it again, you send it to grinding. Bum, bum, bum. The majority of our product goes through this. That's a pretty intense process, and that part is going zigzagging across the plant. This is a routing of just that with PS. And here we're listing all of the tools and all of the pieces of equipment that it can run on, because that's the logic that PS needs. And when you show this to other people in the company and they go, oh, holy smokes, maintaining routings is going to be difficult now. This is going to be complex. This is going to be a real pain. Yeah. But if you don't, and the person whose head all that information is held in, if they take the train, where are you now? You're back in service line. You either capture that information and you get it documented and you build a living system that you keep up to date, or you just depend on your what we call tribal knowledge. Take your pick. This is our planning horizon. The planners work with about a 30-day window, and the schedulers looking at 7. In our business, we're always working on a 3-day schedule. She is constantly scheduling the third day. Today is day 1, tomorrow is day 2. She's working on day 3 today. Day 1 and 2 is firm. So hopefully nothing moved. If something moved, something happened. And that does happen occasionally. And it's usually, no, it's not usually, it's always our fault. We do something, we put a bad date in, we drop something in by accident, or we didn't have a setup correct. We still encounter setup issues, routings, bombs, item attributes. You got to have your data clean. If you don't have your data clean, there's no tolerance. You can't depend on something to do things perfectly and hope that it can work around that little error there, because it just won't. Some of the results. Before our Oracle implementation, turned on Oracle. But we also reduced our lead time from 7 to 3 days. We didn't do anything magical inside the factory to make that go faster either. There was no new equipment, new processes, no magicians, nothing. That's just the result. Well, we stumbled, recovered, and you can see about here in March is where we began our PS, real work on PS and bringing it back up again. And we brought it online at the pink bar. And you see we've slowly recovered since. And these last 2 periods of the year would have been awesome too, had we not decided to explode one of our finishing lines, not purposely, to do a complete relayout. So we had 2 major projects going on the last 2 months of the year that really tanked us on our on-time shipping. But we were on the rise, and we are above now for this period. We are above all that we were last year as well. So we continue to see the improvements there. The other things, the other improvements that come with having a schedule. When you come from a world where it was just total chaos all the time, you don't realize all the waste. But my background is Lean Six Sigma, continuous improvement. So for me, the schedule, having a schedule in my hand that I know what's supposed to happen, immediately gives me the tools I need to find what's happening that's not supposed to happen. Safety improvement. We had the best, and I hate to even say this because it's almost like a jinx, that Fight Club rule. We had the best year in 2014 that we've had in at least 15 years, maybe ever. And it's because the 16-ring circus folded up. And it's now like Cirque du Soleil, if you've ever been to that show. You know, one guy jumps off a silk rope and there's somebody there magically to catch him. That's the way it is now because product is flying through our plant. And it is in such precise order. It's amazing what people can do when they know what they're supposed to do. The production increases. Every day we get orders at about 3.5 to 4 times the rate of SKUs that we can make. So you say we can make 100, we're getting 400 SKUs for 400. So anytime we can increase the amount of variety we can get through, it's a good thing. In 2014, since the implementation, we saw that increase by 10%. We saw our quantity increase scheduled and produced by 23%. Better resource utilization. I was able to reduce the number of material handlers by 20% in the factory. Just having a schedule. Because everybody's not running around playing hide and seek with the materials. And lastly, the one that I'm super proud of, and this isn't in this presentation, but the inventory module of Oracle is one of the greatest things I've ever worked with. The cycle counting system, ever since 2012 when we implemented that, we've just seen improvement over improvement. Once we got our PS installed and our scheduling working, our inventory was the best ever. I mean, 0.58% write-off for the year. It's unbelievable. And it's because we know where everything is. We know where it is in the process. We don't have a bunch of work orders sitting out there for weeks and months like we had before. We had work orders out there since 2012 when we started. What's this doing? Where is it? So a lot of good things come from this. Key implementation, the lessons, the things that went well, resources. We have dedicated resources, so we got commitment early on from executives. We have the right people in the room. We have the right consultants we were working with. The project and process management people we had on site, they were Elkay employees, and they were trained and had experience in project and process management. It wasn't just whoever had a moment. So we had real people working in this team. The collaboration was great. We could start out at breakfast screaming at each other, but by lunchtime we had a breakthrough moment. So we were able to squeeze the collaboration out of each other. And logistics. Instead of people from Lumberton flying to Chicago to meet with the consultants or what have you, Chicago flew to Lumberton, because that's where the problem was we were trying to solve. And then it was easy to grab that shift leader off the production floor, or that material handler off the production floor, bring him in there and go, okay, tell me why it needs to be this way. Because once we understood why this needed to happen, we knew how to make it happen. Things that didn't go well initially, the routings. We had no idea we'd have to work those routings like we did. So I'm telling you now, you got to work your routings. It's got a lot of work. For prerequisites, we knew we weren't using ASCP very well. We weren't getting the optimum out of it. Didn't realize how much till we started down the PS path. In fact, we even put a pin in where we were on PS and spent a good 3 months optimizing ASCP because one needed to feed the other. More communication outside the team for us. We had a lot of people walking by our window wondering what we were doing, so that's always a good thing. And we should have involved the production supervisors and the engineers a little earlier because, again, we didn't realize the amount of routing work we were going to have to do. And also in finding balance between automation and the usability of the tool. You can't go in there expecting PS to hit a button and it's going to spit out a perfect schedule. Your schedulers have got to work with it. Got to spend a little bit of time with it. Challenges we faced, cleaning our data took longer than we expected. Test environment is very static, so build the best one you can if you can. Testing ideas takes longer than you want it to because you've got to run collections and PS and this plan and that plan. Those things take time. You get a great idea, it's going to maybe tomorrow before you find out if it worked. Change management is still a problem in our organization, and that's because players change. Team members change. Managers, executives change. Everybody comes in, so you've got to start all over with them, get them on the right path. And because of these challenges, sometimes it takes a while to get your issues resolved or your enhancements in. We're still making things better for ourselves now. I'd say we're 90% there, but just at this conference, we were talking with our IT resource. I've got that solution fixed. I've already tested it. I was going to put it in Sunday night, but the internet went down. Okay. Advice for future implementations. Again, your routings take a long time. Your process and change management is key. Have good people in place helping you guide the team through that. Look at the integrated process. Again, that's back to ASCP and PS. Make sure one is working the way you want it to. Build a better test environment if you can. Anyone who is scheduling now, that's the person you need to pull into the room because that's the expert you're going to need. They need to be the one using this tool afterwards. We had 4 production shift leaders scheduling in our own system. We pulled one of those in, and then we just really started to zip. Train multiple resources, because again, people leave in the middle of projects sometimes. Implement in parallel. We were really successful on the 3rd try. We actually we turned it on in March, and we ran it for a day and a half, and something was still not right. And it was in our bowl part of the process, which is very complex. Our bowl supervisor, he gets 22 individual schedules because he has 22 individual resources to get the processes through. So we turned it off in a day and a half, took 3 weeks, got ourselves together, turned it back on. We've been on since. And try to measure your effectiveness early on if possible. It's good for the story. Key enablers for success for us: having the executive and management commitment, dedicated resources on site, great project and change management professionals, skilled technical support, and finally, a good reason for it all. Because again, if you don't have a compelling case to keep working this hard, you won't. They won't. Nobody will. Early on in the project, I'm not going to go through all of these, but I had to give an executive update on where we were with PS, and this was given about 3 weeks afterwards. And I listed out the pros and cons and what we're still working on. The pros: visibility, we know what we're making when. Efficiency, we could see that we were grouping product much better and getting it through the factory faster. Lean, we can see the opportunities for improving changeovers, because now we can see changeovers in our schedule. Value stream flow, because I have a schedule, I can start really lining up the resources and materials and staging everything ahead of time so that product zips through the plant. And finally, schedule attainment. Better FIFO of work orders are not just lingering out there in the gray anymore. The cons: this is a pro and a con. It's integrated. That means everything feeding into it's got to be right. If it's not, it's going to crash out on you. Dirty data: there's no tolerance in PS for dirty data. No forgiving that. So you got to get some work done to get your stuff clean and keep it clean. And we're still working on that. We still have initiatives in play just to keep our data clean. Somebody new comes along, and you can always tell it. That didn't come through correctly. Routing structure: it becomes complex, and if you're depending on one person to do that, you better spread that love, because that one person can bail on you. You really have to standardize your processes there so you can capture the complexity there. And it was time consuming. When we first started scheduling, it was taking 8 hours. We're not there anymore. We had some ongoing issues, and we'll go through those, but they're all fixed now. They were our issues. We learned what we needed to do. We changed, we enhanced, we updated, and we move on. What's next? Of course, the DeMontra and APCC. Continuing to optimize our own processes outside of work, outside of PS, and engineering, planning, scheduling, manufacturing, production. And we continue asking. We spent time at this conference talking about what we could do better, other ways we can improve things. So this is never going to stop for us. In a few slides, you've already seen these interfaces before. This is not all of our scheduled resources, but that's a lot of them. And then you get down here into the tools. We have hundreds of tools that are shared resources, so this can get pretty big for our scheduler, but she and he are doing a great job. This is an example of a schedule that we built with the PS tool. Notice the red lettering. That speaks to the change management. We don't give electronic copies yet because we are still working with the culture and keeping people from resequencing themselves. Otherwise, they will. If you give it in Excel, they'll start moving stuff around. So it's a hard copy with very clear notes about not sequencing. We also have notes about when it goes into effect. We actually hand-deliver this to the line, so there's no mistaking. Nobody missed a schedule. Put it in your hand. See the publish time? It's 11 a.m. The scheduler starts somewhere between 7:30 and 8. So we're down to about a 3-hour window of scheduling. This is our schedule attainment. So you can see each month we started getting better. You can see where we worked on those projects there. This month, whereas we are, we had a furnace down for a PM, so that kind of hosed us there. And then we had some plant meetings yesterday, so that kind of hosed us there. So we phoned this morning about that. We keep track of the reasons for misses. So this is one of our resources just for the month of December. These were the 88 jobs that they were past due on, and the reasons why. We can dig down to the work order and get more information situation. But we passed that along to the production manager for that team to work through. And